Audiobook Academy Biography presents Fyodor Dostoyevsky. Some refer to him as a prophet, while others describe him an evil genius. He has been widely discussed as a writer, but Dostoyevsky's personal life is shrouded in mystery. Every single one of his stories has been translated multiple times into a variety of languages. Even if Dostoyevsky's universe can be harrowing and difficult to enter, the kind of literature he wrote can teach people something new. Dostoyevsky is a unique literary figure who merits in-depth examination over the course of several years. The following is a brief biography of Fyodor Dostoyevsky, as well as some noteworthy facts about his life and career. Childhood and education. Russia's best-known writer Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoyevsky, or Dostoyevsky, was born in St. Petersburg on November 11, 1821. He was a novelist, publicist, and one of the most influential writers in history who was born in Russia of Ukrainian parents. Fyodor Dostoyevsky's paternal ancestor Danilo Ratisik, whose written traces were recorded in 1506 in the Ukrainian-Polish town of Dostoyev, now Belarus, gave Dostoyevsky his surname, was one of the first known ancestors on his father's side. However, it is only assumed that the Russian author was descended from Aslan Morza, a writer who came to the East Slavic region with the Golden Horde. According to a 1570 census in Volyn, a Ukrainian region where Dostoyevsky's family settled, the name of the exiled Moscow prince's agent, Fyodor Dostoyevsky, was first recorded. Dostoyevsky's family name reappeared in 1664 in Surkunj, a small Ukrainian hamlet in Volyn. In Klitschko, a neighboring town, they served as municipal delegates for a time before becoming landowners. Karl Dostoyevsky and his son, Homer, were both recorded in the same time period. They moved to a settlement near Zhytomyr where their descendant Grigory Homerovich Dostoyevsky became a priest after selling the Klitschko properties. Son Jan served in the Ukrainian area of Podolya, while his sons Andrei and Mikhail served in the villages of Skala and the Vinnytsia region, both as priests, as did his grandkids. From 1782 until 1820, Andrei Dostoyevsky's great-grandfather was also a clergyman. In his Ukrainian work, he expressed his deep attachment to Ukraine. Later, his son Lev, 1820–1829, took over as ruler of his homeland, while his other son Mikhail, also the father of a Russian writer, attended school at Shargorod Seminary, in Vinnytsia region, and was one of the brightest students sent to the medical academy. Dostoyevsky became one of Moscow's greatest doctors at the Mariinsky Hospital for the Poor after graduating. In the Ukrainian town of Kelnik, the family of Russian author Fyodor Dostoyevsky can be discovered buried. The fact that Fyodor Dostoyevsky has relations in the Ukrainian cities of Kyiv, Odessa, Makhachkala, and Vinnytsia is also well known. At the opening of a museum of Fyodor Dostoyevsky in the Ukrainian city of Vytevtsi, the author's cultural and political connections to Ukraine were highlighted. It is said that Fyodor Dostoyevsky was the son of a lower-class Ukrainian doctor who was murdered by his own serfs for the brutal treatment and humiliation he received as a child. According to other reports, Mikhail was assassinated because of the financial ties he had with other wealthy neighbors in the area. Because of his alcoholism and depression, influential figures are said to have attempted to fake his death. In any event, Fyodor was quite close to his father, as evidenced by their letters, and he suffered an epileptic seizure for the first time following his father's death. The Russian Maria Fedorovna, Fyodor's mother, was a feisty woman who liked poetry and had a bright disposition. Sadly, she died of drought in 1837. Career in writing. His military engineering studies in St. Petersburg were completed, but Dostoyevsky determined early on that he would devote all of his time and energy to literature. Poor Folk, 1846, his first work, was a long epistolary short story that delighted Russian critic Vissarion Belinsky and introduced Dostoyevsky into Russian literary circles. He translated Honoré de Balzac's Eugénie Grandet. A group of socialist utopians, led by Butashevich Petrashevsky, was enticing Dostoyevsky to join their revolutionary discussions on Russia's future, social reform, democracy, and the abolition of serfdom. The Devil, 1846, by Russian writer Vladimir Ivanovich Goliathkin, is a short, powerful novel that describes Goliathkin's descent into schizophrenia through hallucinations that blend reality and mental projections. The deep fall and drastic collapse of reality in the protagonist's consciousness, which surpassed the canons of modern aesthetics focused chiefly on social criticism, did not meet with a suitable response in this original work. Dostoyevsky's life changed dramatically in 1849 after the imperial police banned the Petrashevsky Circle, arrested its members, and staged a shooting in the early hours of the morning in the name of an imperial pardon, in which the author and his comrades were allegedly pardoned and sentenced to Siberian imprisonment and exile. Petrashevsky was not even intended to be shot by the Tsarist authorities, it was a matter of survival for the hapless people. While in prison, Dostoyevsky undergoes a radical shift in his ideology, about which there are different opinions. Even before he was imprisoned, Dostoyevsky was drawn to Christian mysticism, and his utopian socialism was derived from idealistic notions of Charles Fourier and Friedrich Schiller, not from materialist teachings like Feuerbach's. As a result of the Siberian torture, Dostoyevsky's worldview changed, becoming more anti-Western and more sympathetic to Slavophiles. However, he never fully agreed with them. 4 years in prison and 4 years as an average soldier in terrible conditions in remote parts of Asian Russia followed by his release from prison. Dostoyevsky's fictitious account of his own servitude, The House of the Dead, was published after his return to St. Petersburg in 1860–1862 and features many realistic portraits of fellow inmates. The Emperor's author was partially rehabilitated as a result of the book's success. He was also hampered by family and personal difficulties, including the death of his brother Mikhail, who he had co-edited a newspaper with. Despite his reprise, Dostoyevsky's novel Humiliated and Insulted, 1861, was not a commercial success, though it was a critical success for him as a novelist, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for it. In order to get away from his creditors, the author travels to Europe in 1862, staying in Germany, France, Italy, and the United Kingdom. He meets with Herzen and Bakunin while he's in town. His second wife, Anna Snikin, accompanied him on several trips to Europe in the 1860s. She was a peacemaker in the home, raised his children. Direct descendants of Dostoyevsky still live in Russia, despite communist totalitarianism and capitalism's consequences after the collapse of the USSR, and helped him break his gambling habit. One of the most powerful confessional short novels, Dostoyevsky's Notes from Underground, was released in 1864 and was a precursor to similar works by Albert Camus and Louis Ferdinand Céline. While working on this novel, the author used a variety of novel techniques that would serve as a model for his subsequent masterpieces, a clash with utopian and generally humanistic preconceptions. Sonia Marmeladova, Karamazov, and Prince Myshkin are good examples of this type of journalistic style. Other examples include nihilistic cynics, Svidrigailov and Nikolai Stavrogin, intellectuals who reject all conventional values and call themselves religious atheists, Kirill Raskolnikov, and children from random families. To the credit of Russian philosopher Mikhail Bakhtin, Dostoyevsky created a polyphonic novel in which ideological and religious philosophical struggle rips protagonists apart and is expressed both in interiorized consciousness and in the current of consciousness used by 20th-century Anglo-American novels. In the gloom of the metropolis, Dostoyevsky's novel revolves around the damned questions of humanity, the nature of evil, human suffering, mortality and immortality, the existence and non-existence of God, freedom, and responsibility, and the fate of Russia and the West. The heart in which God and Satan struggle, and human life are at risk is arguably a suitable description of Dostoyevsky's own work, several critics have said. Fictional characters might fall into one of three categories: gods and demigods, mythical and religious fiction, regular humans, realistic novels, or those who are below the level values of average people, according to Northrop Frye in Anatomy of Criticism. Men are considered lower in the hierarchy of angels per Pascal's definition. As a result, one of the secrets of Dostoyevsky's work is that his characters are often lower than animals, but in ecstasy they rise to and surpass the level of angels. As a result, his archetypically divided heroes radiate spiritual vitality that serves as the foundation for a metaphysical and spiritual nature. The following are some of Dostoyevsky's best works. It Was in Crime and Punishment, 1866, Dostoyevsky's technically perfect work, about an ideologically motivated murder with the central character Rodion Raskolnikov, the prototype of Nietzsche's Superman, that he achieved his greatest literary success, in The Idiot, 1868. Dostoyevsky gave Kristalic character Prince Myshkin as well as a realistically implicit commentary on the decline of the unconditional good in the secular world, and in The Devil. Death. After an epileptic spasm caused bleeding, Dostoyevsky died abruptly in 1881. In recent years, his life has been more stable, and it can be considered that he has overcome the material scarcity and difficulties that have plagued him throughout his entire existence. However, despite his best efforts, he was unable to complete the balance of the Brothers Karamazov trilogy, or possibly tetralogy, due to unforeseen circumstances. Despite Dostoyevsky's unclear attitude on the matter and his semi-official canonization by the Tsarist authorities, he was given a splendid funeral attended by 100,000 people, largely students, according to police estimates. The funeral itself degenerated into anti-Tsarist rallies, Dante Alighieri, William Shakespeare, Leo Tolstoy, Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra, Marcel Proust, and a host of other great authors are among Fyodor Dostoyevsky's contemporaries. From Leonid Andreyev to Hermann Hesse, William Faulkner, Franz Kafka, and Gabriel Garcia Marquez, his impact on literature is incalculable. Only a handful of modern writers have managed to escape his influence, and the expressionist and existentialist movements in particular are greatly beholden to him. His narrative works have been translated into other languages, and several volumes of his collected works have been published in multiple languages. Only a small portion of his journalistic works have been translated into English. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.